It says apply bourbon as needed.
To what?
To chef?
Oh. Butter. You know we don't use no margarine in this house.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sean Lowery Show. I have with me Adam Schwartz. What's up, Adam?
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here.
Happy to be here. Awesome. So for those of you who don't know Adam, he's an award-winning, Emmy-nominated filmmaker from Birmingham, Alabama. And I know him from being the managing producer, director, but I know you mostly from being the star of It's a Southern Thing, which is like a viral sketch comedy series. Right? Is that accurate? Like, It's a Southern Thing. That's your thing, right?
It's a Southern thing. Yes, it's got the sketch comedy. It's a Southern Thing's actually so much more than sketch. I mean, we've grown it to be this. Now it's this just online brand, which is pretty cool. But it started with the sketch comedy. So that's sort of what we're known for, the flagship of It's a Southern Thing. Yeah,
and you guys have a huge audience. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of my podcast. It's a business podcast, but my business is United Monograms. It's a monogram clothing company, and we've actually advertised with you guys before.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, I remember you guys did like a live thing before where you had like United Monograms. You were all wearing it, and that was like we were the main sponsor for a video.
Yeah,
during the quarantine. That's
us.
Right. That's me.
I remember. We've done a few videos with y'all's name on it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you are authentically a Southerner. You're born in Birmingham.
I was not born in Birmingham, but I was born in the South. So lived in the South basically all my life. So
okay. I when I was first learning about you guys, I mean, honestly, I love sketch comedy. Like, sketch comedy is my favorite thing. Like on YouTube, you know, like Saturday Night Live, even like summer hits, summer misses. I always watch it because like I always like sketch comedy. I think it's so funny, and it's easy to watch. You know, just like 5 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So I've seen like all your. I'm subscribed, so I get like a notification when you guys have a new video, and I love watching them. And I am from the North. I'm from Philly, but I currently live in Charleston, South Carolina. So for the past 4 to 5 years, I've been a Southerner, and I don't say y'all. I don't
yet. You don't say
not yet. And I was wondering when I first found out about your guys' page, like is Adam? I don't know how I knew that was your name, but I did. Do you use that name in the sketches? Your name, Adam?
It depends on the sketch. We started with sort of me and Talia, who's the lady in the videos. We played this couple named Kevin and Diana, and that just came from some. It started in a video, and then we just kept doing it for some reason. And so people think that I'm Kevin.
Okay. I don't know how I knew you were Adam. I must have looked into it, obviously. Or when we started advertising with you or something. But I thought you looked like you could be like from New York or something like that. Do you say y'all?
I do. I get, one of the things when we first started doing It's a Southern Thing videos, and I'd never really experienced this before just because I'd never really known any better. But, first time sort of putting myself out there is people commenting saying, oh, that guy's not from the South. That guy's not a Southerner. He doesn't look like he's from the South. And I was like, I had never thought of this before. Just because it had never occurred to me. But I guess that's kind of weird. I guess I don't sort of represent, I guess, what people think of as the South when they think of the South tradition. Like, I don't have a strong Southern accent.
Right.
That kind of thing.
I think maybe the other guy in your videos, the bigger guy, what's his name?
Matt Mitchell.
He might be more of a like people's stereotypical Southern guy. He's got a little bit of the drawl.
Oh yeah, he's got the accent for sure.
Yeah.
So people were like, well, that guy's not from the South. So I had to like sort of prove myself somehow. I was like saying like, well, no, I am. I'm from Alabama. I've lived in Alabama. I've lived in the South all my life. I've lived in Alabama. I've lived in Georgia and Louisiana. So basically like the deep South. And not even Atlanta, Georgia, which is sort of like not the South, but
why don't you have an accent? A Southern accent?
I don't know. I guess my parents really don't have an accent. My parents aren't Southerners. My
Okay.
parents are from well, my dad is from Maryland, which is below the line, but not
Yeah.
traditionally South. And my mom is Puerto Rican, so
Okay.
um, don't really have they don't really have a Southern accent. So I guess it didn't really but sometimes I do. So it depends on who I'm with. Like if I'm with like, Matt and people like that have strong Southern accents, it starts to come out. And if you get mad or drunk or whatever, and then the lazier your voice gets, or like more
Right.
passionate your voice gets, maybe the accent comes out. And I think, being in front of the camera, and having done like film stuff, both behind and in front of the camera, you sort of train yourself to maybe try to sound not specific for
Right.
various reasons, or for
Right.
like various roles. It kind of opens you up. But I mean, it comes out. And my brother, here's funny thing is I have a twin
Yeah.
brother.
A twin.
Yeah, and he's a doctor, but he has a much stronger Southern accent than I do. If you listen to
Really?
us talking, listen to him talk, he's like, yeah, man, and I'm just like, how does this even happen? He lives in Atlanta, so doesn't live there
That's
now. But
funny.
he lived there. He went to college there, so he should have like a New York accent, I guess.
Right.
But
So
yeah.
Atlanta, you're like considering that kind of like not the South. 'Cause
I
it's kind of
consider-
like one of those big cities.
I joke about it, but I consider it to be the South. I think there's a lot of Southern things about Atlanta,
Right.
but it is more of a sort of a melting pot, especially you have like people
Definitely.
coming from all over. So many industries based out of there, and now like the
Right.
film industry has a big presence there too. So like,
Yeah.
there's a lot more than just like the South in Atlanta.
Right. So it's a Southern thing. Like how did it get started? How did you get involved in it? Did you start it? Did you get hired by it? Like how did it all come about?
Kind of both. So It's a Southern Thing is part of Red Clay Media, which is a company that I work for. And Red Clay, there's this big hierarchy of what this company structure is. Red Clay Media is a division of Alabama Media Group, which when I was hired to work there, Alabama Media Group was basically like, it was AL.com, which is the news. So it's like all the newspapers, digital versions of the news. And I was just hired to be part of a new video team to start making original programming for AL.com. And we kind of did stuff that was all over the place. We had, we kind of came in, and I want to say there were pretty much no rules there. It's like, let's just see what you can do. And it was kind of a mix of people that came in, like filmmakers like me, not traditionally journalists. So we just kind of started doing stuff to just experiment with this Wild West frontier of
Wait, so
on the internet.
AL.com, I've seen it before. Like I'm sure it's changed from the beginning to when I've kind of seen it, but it's kind of like news stories a little bit. Like it's content based. But when you came in, like what was like, if I'm the executive and I'm hiring you and I had to like say in one sentence what your job was, like what would it be? Just I mean, because content is so wide ranging. It could be news, it could be anything, it could be comedy.
We didn't really do a lot of news things. We were kind of this new AL.com Studios is what we called ourselves, and we did sort of unscripted documentary, sometimes orbiting the news and sometimes just kind of local flavor type stuff. But it was, at that time when I came in, this was 2015, so it wasn't that long ago. Sports was kind of the king of AL.com. Sports and crime were like, the big things that everybody talked about in Alabama. And so we had a sports sketch comedy show that one of my coworkers started doing called SEC Schwartz. You've probably seen it or heard of it.
Yes.
And I've worked with them a lot, and that was sort of the first test of sketch comedy with AL.com, and it was sports, so people loved it. So and then we just decided, we were literally doing whatever. It ranged from unscripted like travel type videos to weird technology testing video. Like we do one of our early success videos that we did was just my coworker's dad had a Tesla, and so me and him got in his dad's Tesla and tested out the autopilot on the interstate, and that was like one of our first like 20 million view videos, and I can't explain it.
20 million views. That gives like the people listening like kind of an idea. Like you have had huge success with a lot of your videos. Like,
Yeah.
did you need approval to do these videos, or was whoever's in charge just like, just get us the views, we don't care what it is?
Most of the time, it wasn't necessarily like we needed approval. We would run our ideas by the people in charge and say
Okay.
like, "Hey, we're going to do this," and they'd be like, "Sounds good." Sometimes we would do stuff that orbited like, or that was like too focused on like potentially something newsy going on. Like the governor of Alabama was in this big sex scandal back then, and 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 we did a video that was like a sort of a sketch about that, and it lived on al.com.
It sounds
and,
funny. It sounds like something
it,
SNL might do.
and we also did the same thing for we had a Birmingham city councilman get into like an actual fist fight with the mayor in a city council meeting, and so we did this fake trailer for like a boxing match basically with these two guys, and
What?
that went up on al.com, which is like, you know, a news site. So
Right.
so we started trying to just put like these weird editorial these things you really hadn't seen before up on a news site, and they worked, but also made us realize that maybe this isn't the right platform for this kind of stuff. Maybe like
Because it was
putting having
comedy. It was
it was
comedy, right?
yeah, it was comedy and it was satire and it was things like
Right.
that. And like, you know, you have a comedy sketch going up on the same place that you would see a news story about somebody getting murdered downtown, and there's a bit of a dissonance there. It's like that does
Yeah.
it's not quite maybe we don't need this catch-all platform for all these different forms of media. That's when we started to decide to like, all right, well, let's take some of these like editorial stuff, this like comedy or things we want to satire, let's spin it off and let's create its own platform for it. So we started a new platform called This Is Alabama, and that was going to be where we put of all of our like good stories about Alabama and things like that. And so I just decided, all right, well, I'm gonna let's try doing some sketch comedy about the South. You know, I talked with my boss, and he was like, you know, let's see if we can do something like SEC Shorts, but just for like Southern culture. It's like, all right, well,
Right.
we'll try it. So we made a couple of sketch comedy videos. I think they were, oh gosh, I have to think back to like 2016. It was like if GPS navigation was Southern and what bless your heart
I've
really
seen that
means.
one. Yeah.
And so we did, those were like our first two for This Is Alabama, and we just posted them. And they went nuts. They like blew up, and like we're talking like the 20 million view kind of like numbers that, I mean, it's even hard to get now on Facebook. But
Yeah.
and so we posted those videos and they went crazy, and we were like, well, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's like a market for this, or maybe there's interest in more identity content around the South, and maybe
Right.
maybe it's an underserved audience that maybe we can fill. So we kept doing sketch comedy for This Is Alabama, and it kept working for the most part. And that was when we decided to say, like, This Is Alabama in the name has too small of
Right.
a footprint.
Reach.
It's very
Right.
very specific.
Right.
So that's where It's a Southern Thing was born. It's like, let's try to hit a Southern, more
That's
regional
awesome.
audience.
That's so cool. That involved, it's businessy because it involved your talent and your skill of the sketches, but also serving a market. It's kind of like how the Carolina Panthers aren't called the North Carolina Panthers,
Right.
right? They're trying to cover like two things with it, with their name. So it's a Southern thing, and then that covered all of it, and then that's where you guys are now, right? And I mean,
Yeah.
and like, I'm assuming that you're like had a lot of success. Like, is this your full-time job? Is this like this is the number one thing you do, right?
It is. Yeah. I'm employed by Red Clay Media. So
Okay.
so they pay the salaries, and I
Okay.
make the comedy for them.
Okay.
And for It's a Southern Thing. But It's a Southern Thing really wasn't, you know, it wasn't born from the top down. It was sort of born from this
Right.
frontier
Within.
that we developed, you know, as, you know, this trial and error, this
Yeah.
wild west of internet video. It was like, let's see what works and let's see what sticks. And it was really developed from, you know, us on the
Right.
ground floor. And then, you know, as we were very fortunate to have bosses and managers that
Right.
allowed us to sort of
Right.
experiment and explore. And then when they saw something was working, they said, okay, let's invest in this. Let's do more
Yeah.
with this,
In,
because I
in,
think
in,
this
the
is something.
in the entrepreneur world, it's called like an intrapreneur. Like basically you started your own thing, but within the structure of a company that I'm sure backed you on like a lot of the money stuff, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
been and it's paid off big time for them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they hired us to work for them,
Right.
and so it's theirs. But we have a lot of ownership over what we do because we basically created it. So
Exactly. That's
um,
awesome.
yeah.
What were you Emmy nominated for?
It was a couple of the Tesla video. Actually, interestingly enough,
Really?
yeah, we're talking like
Was that in 2015, 2016? You said.
2016, I think it was.
Okay, because I have a Tesla and I know the autopilot has like gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
And like I'm curious. I never seen that video.
Yeah, it's an old one. Yeah, and Emmy nominated. We're talking about Southwestern region Emmy.
Okay. Okay.
So Emmy
It
nominated for
counts.
that.
It counts.
Hey,
Emmy nominated. It's in your intro.
that's right.
So it counts.
And so it's for that and for a series. The very first thing that I did when I started working at AL.com was a short series called Adam Celebrates, and like nobody's seen it, but it was this series where I would go to various places around Birmingham and try to celebrate whatever day it was. And it was every day has a thing. Like every day is going to be like National Coffee Day or National like
yes.
bookend
Actually, I
day
know
or
this.
something like that.
Yesterday, yes. Actually, no. Today is National Chocolate Cake Day.
See,
I swear, like for marketing stuff, we Googled it yesterday, and I happen to know that. But yes, every day is something. And today, by the way, happy National Chocolate Cake Day.
happy National Chocolate Cake Day. But yeah, that was basically the premise. Is I would take this thing and I would say, all right, well, like if this is a thing, let's see what I can do to try to actually celebrate this. Like if I were to celebrate it like it was like Christmas or the 4th of July or something like that, let's celebrate. And so the first one I did was Face Your Fears Day, where I went to an exotic pet store and had them put like a tarantula on me, and it was terrifying. But it was again like with the Wild West of AL.com. Like this is my first week on the job. I was like, I should make something. I don't know what to do. I guess I'll do this.
How many views did those get?
Not many. They went up on AL.com. So people were like, there was no marketing. There was no
right.
Hey, we have this new show coming out. It was just like, boom, there it is. And people were like, what?
Okay.
So, but that it was not, I got nominated for best on-camera talent for that one. So
nice. Yeah. You are a talented guy, and I know. So you guys come out with the sketches like all the time, and so which I know. Obviously, I know you act in them. I can see that part. So like the behind the scenes, like, are you I know there's you. I guess your name's Talia, right?
Oh, yeah.
Talia. And by the way, if you Google your name, it says like, are Adam and Talia married?
I know everybody asks that. We are not, but we always say we're not. We are married, but not to each other.
Okay, there you go. That's right. That's true. But I think they think that probably from
the Kevin and Diana stuff. Yeah,
and that's where I saw you guys. My favorite one, the first one I saw, was you proposed to her, your characters, and she ran away because her monogram was "die."
Right.
And I was dying laughing. That's when I was like, that's what got on my radar, because I never knew much about monograms from the North, and we got into the business. We found out how Southern it was, and it's crazy how Southern monograms are.
The jackpot.
We have like a map of the country, and we can see everyone on Google Analytics, like shopping. There's an orange dot. All the dots are orange in the South. It's crazy. It's like the Mason-Dixon line is like a hard, yeah. So I never knew about that till I found it, and then once I found out about this niche, I started learning more. I saw that video, and that's when I was on to you guys. I guess that's why I think you're married, because your characters are kind of married.
Yeah.
But it's you, her. You said the other guy's name's Matt.
Matt. Yes.
And I know you have some other characters, writers in and out. So are you the main writer? How does it work?
The main team is me, Matt, and another guy named Luke Porter. We've recently added Mary Patterson Broom to the team. She came in, I guess, early 2020 or late 2019, maybe it was. And then Talia is she's our star. So that's sort of the core sketch comedy team, and then we bring in actors from the community.
So some people are just actors,
right? So behind the scenes, Matt does a lot of the writing. I do writing as well, and Mary Patterson, we brought her on as a writer. So um, you know, a lot of the sketches are written by Matt. We workshop them, so um, we that's the most fun part is where we get to.
Yeah, what does workshop then mean?
So we'll discuss and we'll get together as a group and we'll talk about an idea and then we'll toss around jokes back and forth and we'll go
Okay.
really like we'll get like really dark with it or really like weird with it and then we'll say, all right, let's really back in, let's do it. Well, what are people going to actually watch? And then Matt will write the script, and we'll talk about it and then punch up some jokes here and there, and then and this all happens within like a couple of days.
I know, because
really
you guys put out a lot. So it's kind of like, I've seen like the SNL things where they put it together in a week, or even like South Park, they like put it together in a week.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of time, right? So you have to like, it's actually the last 10 episodes of my podcast I did with one of my good friends and my producer, Brandon. And one thing we did over 3 episodes was we were like, we're going to write a sketch in 45 minutes, and we're 15 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. And we have no experience with this. Like, it was our first time doing it. And we ended up doing some like rat race sketch. It was all right. But it's hard to put that together. And then like, I think you guys probably all have to agree on a basis and then like move on, right? You can't like, we're filming tomorrow. You probably can't like go back to the beginning, right? Like, you ever like butt heads in there? Or?
Sometimes not often, but sometimes we'll say like, we're filming tomorrow. Maybe this isn't going to work. Is there something we can do to tweak it? But it doesn't really happen often. I think that we managed to hit a nice groove, especially for for a good while there. We were before COVID, especially.
Yeah.
We were just sort of churning it out, and we had our system down. And Matt was doing a lot of the script writing, and so I trained as a filmmaker. So
okay, I was going to ask you about your background a little bit. Like, did you go to school for that?
I did. I have an
Okay.
MFA in film production from the University of New Orleans. So I was like,
Okay.
went to film school and did all that. So I was trained in all the behind the camera stuff. So as was Luke. Luke was, I was actually, before I started at ale.com, I taught film production at the University of Alabama, and Luke was one of my students. So
Really?
yeah, and then we
That's
hired him
cool.
because he's that awesome. But
He was obviously kissing the teacher's butt, huh?
yeah, all the time. So it really paid off for him. But yeah, so we're trained. We were actually training behind the camera stuff, which I like to think gives us a sort of an edge just in terms of production quality and things like that, because we like to do things that are a little slicker and a little more
Yeah.
cinematic sometimes, and sometimes we do the types of sketches which is just like sort of one shot
Right.
things, but
Right.
every once in a while we like to flex our muscle and do like a Twilight Zone or a commercial spoof or something like that, where we
Right.
get to like use our skills.
Right.
And then acting in front of the camera just kind of happened because we were there. And especially when we're just starting, it's like, who can we use? Well, we don't have to pay us.
Yeah.
We're already here.
Right.
Let's just do it. And then you anchor yourself with somebody like Talia, who's a trained actress,
Oh,
and
she's a trained actress.
can
Okay.
make us look good
Right.
with her. Like, like she elevates our performances because she's a good actress, and we're just like,
Yeah. I think you're a good actor. No,
Okay.
I really always have been like fascinated by like the directing, writing, acting, and filming. Like, they're different skills, and it makes sense that in like a small group that you do multiple of them. But if everyone brings their own talent to the table, I don't think like TV show writers get enough credit,
oh,
because
they definitely don't.
it seems like such a hard thing. Like, I've been watching the show Criminal Minds on Netflix. It's like 8 seasons. It's all, every episode's like a different crime. And I was just thinking about it one day. I was like, this is hard to write. Like, every time you got to kind of surprise the audience. I don't think they get nearly enough credit as they deserve in the world.
No, especially TV writers. TV writers basically run the show. I mean, there's like, they're probably the most consistent element there. In addition, besides the cast, I mean, the directors rotate. The
Okay.
showrunners consistent, but the writers room, the people in the writers room are responsible for fleshing it out and writing it out
Yeah.
and like
And
making
on
it.
TV, don't sometimes they don't know if they're going to get picked up for 3 more seasons or 2 more seasons or not at all. And I feel like that's hard to map out if you don't know how many
Yeah.
seasons you have. Isn't that a thing? Like, that probably makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I would say that maybe you got a season. So you're like, all
Right.
right,
Yeah.
let's see what can we wrap up, like give a satisfying ending to the season, but maybe hint that maybe there might be some more.
Right.
I wonder if we
Right.
get picked up again.
Right. There's
So,
skill in that. Right.
there is
That's
so
hard.
much skill. Yeah, like TV writing is on a whole nother level. Like doing sketches is great, but like to be able to write something that has sort of a season long or multi-season long
Right.
arc or continuity, like that would be amazing.
Right.
Also terrifying, because I'd be like, I don't know if I could do this.
I mean, you guys have an element of it on It's a Southern Thing. Like, you have some reoccurring characters, like Kevin and Diana, like you mentioned.
Right.
That you guys, I feel like sometimes you play other people too. Like, you can
we've
just basically do whatever because it's a sketch, right?
Yeah, like it's sort of a package for jokes. Like the Southern People's Court, we've done several of.
It's like a little court case where I guess Matt is like dressed up and has like the gavel, right?
Yeah, Matt's the judge and I'm the prosecutor, and Eric Hall is the defense attorney, and we show up whenever somebody does something that may be unsouthern, and we put them on trial, and it's a nice way to sort of package that joke or that premise.
Right. And that's one you can always bring back or like redo, right? Like it's kind of like a theme within them.
Yeah, we can bring those back. We did another, I think just last week we released a sketch that is going sort of into the heads of Kevin and Diana, and we've done that before, so that's like something we say,
that one had some good like video production and writing. Like, I love that sketch. It was funny.
Yeah.
I liked when they said you're like, I don't know if I know this person or not. And you got to watch the sketch. We'll link it up or whatever. But then you're like, let's just go with just generic term. And you're like, that's crazy. And then she's like, she pauses for a while. That is crazy. You're like, nailed it. Yes.
Got it. Yeah. That one, I wrote that one. That was, based on real life. I promise I'm a good listener, but sometimes it's just, my brain zones out. But yeah, that one was really fun to do. To shoot sort of the Kevin and Diana stuff, very sort of normal, and then going into the frantic head control room, and then we got to play around with doing like some handheld camera and some like punch zooms and things like that. So that's really fun to make.
Yeah, you guys are doing an amazing job. So like the Southern, right? Like, as someone who's lives in the South now, and I'm not from the South, like, how do you like describe the South, or like, I mean, I see how you guys portray it in the videos, like bless your heart, y'all, monograms, like, grits and like some reoccurring things. But like, do you ever like have trouble having to relate the sketch to like the South, or like, how would you describe the South to somebody who, as a Southerner, as a sketch writer who has to describe the South through comedy sketches? What would be your like description of the South?
Oh, my description of the South. How many words do I have? I don't know. Like we don't really, some sketches we do aren't Southern. They're just things, just true things. And we don't try to like say this is just a Southern thing. How would I describe the South? It's delicious food. It's basically what it all boils down to, and the culture that surrounds it. I mean, there's so much more to it. I mean, the South is I think what people don't realize is how diverse the South is. I mean, you could ask any number of people what the South is, and you're going to get something different, because it's just, I think the common denominator is just sort of a way of life. I think, people say, oh, it's a whole lot slower down here, but I think
I never really noticed that. Like, I guess maybe because I'm in my own world and I'm like a go-go entrepreneur type of guy. But then I have people come visit and they're like, it's slower. And I'm like, well, maybe because you're just on vacation, or I don't know. I can't tell if it's slower or not. I've thought about it a lot.
We have a lot of pride in our food and just the sort of friendliness. A lot of people say the Southern hospitality is a thing. Which, it is. I think that, but there's a lot of cultures whenever we post a video, for example, about like how long it takes to say goodbye in the South, or how your grandma's going to feed you until you die because she never thinks you're eating enough, and we say it's a Southern grandma. It's just like saying goodbye in the South, and we'll get people from other areas and from other cultures who say like, yeah, my grandma's like this too.
Right. It's more like a grandma thing.
Yeah, we should rename the whole channel.
It's an American thing. No, it's a grandma thing.
But
yeah, so like your audience. I remember like when I was advertising with you guys, they were kind of pitching at me. Like, I think it's like a higher percentage of women. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
And why do you think that is?
I have no idea. I think that, well, we got a lot of audience on Facebook, and I don't know, sort of what the demographics of people who use Facebook in general are.
I think at this point, I think it's a little older, like maybe like 40 and up is a little more on Facebook.
And that was sort of our initial audience, was sort of older women, which we've expanded since. But
Right.
I don't know why we, you get like 3 guys in the writer's room and they're saying like, women, you're speaking to women. I guess
I mean, you guys have a lot of stuff like around the house, kind of like husband and wife dynamics.
Yeah, that was a lot of it at first too.
Right.
Yeah, around the house, husband and wife, things like monogramming and, that sort of stuff. And I guess they just were into it.
Yeah, monogramming, baby.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. I remember like when I was talking to the advertising, someone who I was talking to, they're like, I think they ran out of like monogramming sketches, like because they were kind of trying to like write one, like if we kind of advertise for it. But my favorite one for the monogramming one, and I think you guys could do another one of this, is the obviously, what the hell do I know? But listen to me, all right? Here's what you're gonna do.
Oh, you're the monogram guy,
The one that is a support group, and it has all the people get around like it's an AA meeting.
Yeah.
And they all have bad monograms. Like the one girl's short and it's Elf. The one lady's like, mine was fine till the internet, and it has LOL.
Yeah.
And the other girl's like, sorry, I was late, I got pulled over, and it was DUI.
Yeah.
Poo with a brown monogram. That was hilarious. Dude, we get them all the time. Like I see them like because we have them around the office. One of my favorite ones is like sad. It just says like sad in big letters. And then we get like STD.
Yeah.
Like KKK, like bad. We're like, geez, you're gonna like wear that? And, like,
yeah, I would not wear that.
And it's like it's their monogram, so I don't know. Like,
and we don't get that one in white.
Yeah, definitely not. We get ass a lot. Like seriously, like I think there's a lot of like Ashley, Sarah, like we get tons of and I mean we're like, and we all get around. We're like, do they know that it's ass? Like they have to know, right? They have to know they're wearing a big hat that says ass on it, or a giant bag that says ass. Like we get that.
Yeah, I saw one of those like in like real life. I was like, oh my gosh, somebody. I think it was in like a security line at an airport, and somebody just like has ass on their bag, and I was like,
they wear their.
You know what that says, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm always wondering, like, do they know? I mean, they have to know. I don't know, but it's interesting. But
yeah, I love that sketch. One of my favorite ones that we did. I think you might have actually sponsored this one. It was the one where they find out the baby's monogram has changed. And
yeah, we did sponsor that one. Yeah,
panic and a freak out, and they have to go into the other room, and they're all trying to change the monogram.
Right.
That one was
the
so
one girl
much
had
fun.
like a sewing machine in her purse. That was funny.
Yeah, that one was really fun to make because it was so chaotic and it was so like,
Right.
intense, and there was so much going on.
But, yeah,
that was I like that one a lot.
Yeah, you guys' sketches are awesome. Where do you get like what's your favorite? Do you like SNL?
Oh yeah, I was when I was in high school. If you had asked me what I wanted to do, it was I want to be on SNL was the thing. That was like my dream. So I was, especially back in those days, which I guess I'll date myself. The late 90s.
Okay.
It was watching during the heyday of like Will Ferrell and those guys, that group.
Yeah, that's a good group.
Yeah, it was a great group, and so like I would watch SNL religiously, just every weekend, and then I would go back and just learn the history of SNL all the way back to the 70s, and I was like obsessed with it. So that was like my dream, and
I mean you're like almost like living it now in a way. You're
I'm sort of doing it. Yeah,
like so for somebody who is listening that has a dream, like, are you just talented and that just took you, or did you like break down the SNL skits? Like, not everyone has a childhood dream and they can grow up and like do that, especially if it's something like comedy or sketch writing. What advice would you give, or what did you do, or how did you get from a little kid who was interested in SNL to now writing and producing, directing your own sketch show? How did that all come together?
Oh man. I don't know, what advice would I give? I would say, for us and for me personally, doing sketch comedy, you see a lot of people who want to do sketch comedy on the internet, for example, because the
You can
internet
do
has
it.
allowed you to do whatever you want now.
Right.
Basically, you don't need a network to tell you what to do. Um, People make sketch comedy and they don't really necessarily know who they're making it for. They'll just say like, I think this is funny, I'm going to make this video, and like, I think it's funny, but it may not be like that funny to other people. And like, that's not, I'm saying you don't have a bad sense of humor. I'm just saying, like, if you're the only audience, like, there's a place for that. There's a place for making things that you like for yourself. But like, for us, we knew like we have to make content that Southerners identify with. So like, if
That probably helped you
it did,
because it like laser focused you in on like a starting point.
right. And we had to analyze, sort of nitpick the sketches that we put up and analyze, all right, what are people saying? Why are people sharing this? How can we recreate that? Like,
Mm,
what are the sort of the nuts and bolts of like why
mm,
this is shareable? And like, you can't really define shareable, but you can sort of narrow it down to say like, and then when you think of the next one, you think like, okay, what about this is going to make somebody say, this is me, or this is you, or this is my friend, or like make them tag that person in the comments, or make them share it so
mm,
that the people that they have on their friend list will see it, and they can say like, I identify with this is me, I feel called out, or like know somebody who does. And then that's when it starts to get passed around, because people are seeing themselves in it. And I sort of joke around sometimes and saying, basically, we're telling people how they feel. And people are like, yes, that I feel this way. And when we do sketches, like, the very first one that we put up on It's a Southern Thing, which was basically, when you forget to say ma'am, yes ma'am, in the South. And it's really short. And Talia is like, you done? She's got her kids and she's like, you done with your food? And he just says yes. And she turns around and there's like thunder and lightning, and like, she's got mad face, and she's like, yes, what? And he's like, yes ma'am. And if that was the video, was that it? That was it. And it's basically just like this this concentrated emotional reaction to not saying ma'am. And the people
right. It was
remembered when their parents would do this,
just
and they
very
would like,
relatable, and
yeah,
it plucked a heartstring in people in the South, and I'm sure in other areas too. But like that, and you found that out, and then you start to learn your audience. So
right.
like that, so that's kind of your advice for somebody who's maybe starting to do sketch comedies: understand your audience. And I mean, that's very much a business piece of advice too. If you're starting a business, know your audience.
Yeah, who are you selling to? And it's like, not only that, but like, who, then for us it became, and this is something that we sort of thought about from the very beginning when we were starting It's This Other Thing in particular. This was something that I probably harped on almost too much, but it was like, you know, okay, let's assume that we capture somebody with a video, or let's say we have a viral video for whatever reason. How can we ensure that that's not going to just exist in a vacuum on its own, and not just
Mm,
be like, that's a funny video that I saw? How can we
mm,
we put up a new video? How can we get people to make the connection? Oh, that's the same people that made this other video that I really liked. Maybe this is something that I want to now like follow
subscribe.
or subscribe
Yeah.
to. So it was, especially early on, which is one of the reasons why we kept the cast so consistent, and we,
Yeah.
the way we put our headline on the top and the colors and that sort of stuff, is because we wanted
Branding.
basically branding. We wanted you to
Yeah.
see what we put out and say like, identify it as one of our videos, and say like, oh, this is the same people, so that it's not just a video that exists on its own. It's like, oh, there's more.
Yeah. And
And
you
try,
think you've succeeded in that?
I'd like to think that we
I
did.
think so.
Yeah, we we have a lot of followers and subscribers. We're still trying to grow, um, and do more. But you know, one of the one of the things that I started to notice, especially as we got a couple of years into it, is that people started to recognize me on the street. So they were like,
Was that a cool was that a cool feeling?
oh my gosh, it's still like to this day when someone's like, "You're that guy from those Southern videos." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't know my name, but you know, you know my
Kevin.
face. That's I'm Kevin." And we would have people, we would go to places like Sevierville, Tennessee, and Vicksburg, Mississippi, and we would go do videos there. And being in a different state and going into restaurants and we'd be like, "Hey, I like your videos." It's just like
That's cool.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
Like that's a good feeling, right?
yeah. So like, I guess they were getting around, but
Right.
you know,
Like have you seen like more of that happen, or is it like, I mean, I always hear like a Justin Bieber or someone be like, fame sucks, like it's terrible. Okay, I guess if you're walking out of your door and you're getting tackled, but like if it's on a little bit of a lower level, it's probably awesome, right?
yeah, no, it's definitely awesome. Because the majority of I've never met anybody that's like, "You suck." Which, hopefully nobody would say that. I mean, you say it in the comments because I've seen you.
Right.
But
In the comments, you've seen it.
oh yeah.
Like
Everybody
your whole
says,
crew doesn't seem like someone that people just start being mean to. Like I've got some negative comments, but I can be like cocky sometimes. But like you guys are just so nice and calm. Like you probably don't
The-
get too many.
sort of the double-edged sword of doing identity content is if for some reason you do something that somebody disagrees with or doesn't identify with, or like you, even if you get it like partially wrong, or somebody has just a slightly different way of looking at it, or we forgot to include something, people will tell us about it. So like, the videos where we have a bunch of states represented, and let's say we leave out Virginia, people from Virginia are like, "Where's Virginia? Oh my god."
Well, oh, you didn't include Virginia?
Yeah,
Is that what you-
just because we didn't
okay.
have enough cast members or something.
Was anyone mad about like how you portrayed their state?
I don't
It's
think.
hard. It's hard to portray a state. It's such a big thing, but
Yeah, most of the time when we do state portrayals, it's just to be able to make references to things that state does. Like we'll call it a certain state and be like, "This is the kind of barbecue sauce I have,"
okay.
or like that kind of stuff. But yeah, nobody's
Yeah.
really gotten mad. And then obviously the people who are like, "Y'all aren't real Southerners. Y'all are fakers from the north. Y'all don't know what you're talking about. Where are your Southern accents? Like this, you don't look and sound like me, so you must not be a real Southerner." Is basically the things that we have to fight a lot of the times.
Hey, it'll help the algorithm. More comments, right?
I know, that's what I'm saying. Hey, thank you for engaging with our. And sometimes if we leave something out, it's like, they're like, "Should we have done this?" Nah, people will tell us that we should have, and then that's engagement.
So you guys are kind of like responsible for summarizing the culture of the South. Like what else does that? Like what other, I mean, I guess like there's not a Northern comparison. I feel like in the North, they wouldn't like associate by being a Northerner necessarily.
No,
That's
I
something
think
the South might do more.
in the North, I feel like it's a lot more concentrated to like cities, like
York
like
City,
it's a New York thing
Boston,
or Chicago thing or
Philly.
whatever.
Right.
And that's where you see sort of the epicenters of that type of culture, even though it may radiate out into a
Right.
particular region. Like the South is just like its own, like and even within there's just so many different things. But yeah, I mean we also try to kind of try to move the needle a little bit in how the South is portrayed and represented.
Yeah.
Like we still want to do speak to the sort of the core. We're always going to talk about biscuits and gravy and sweet tea and stuff like that. But I think in terms of the way we represent people, we want to show, a diversity. We want to show the true like diversity of the South and to try to move the needle, because a lot of
I love
times
that.
you see like Southern comedy and you think like Larry the Cable Guy
Yeah.
and like that kind of stuff. And like,
Yeah.
that's
like
okay.
super rednecky like stuff.
Yeah. And so I think to just show the South as not necessarily a cartoon character, but as sort of a diversity of of people that all sort of have this common geographical thing.
I love that. Because you know there's people in New York and LA who've never been to the South that are like those stupid
Yeah,
Southerners, those red state
Hicks. Yeah,
rednecks. Yeah, Hicks. Like they don't like that's such a wide ranging stereotype. I mean, it's a big diverse place. So I love that you guys are doing that, like moving the needle a little bit, like educated, diverse. I mean, that's
yeah,
good. That's a good
and
thing.
and I think there's the South is much more than just that rednecky backwards, sort of backward thinking. Don't wear shoes. I mean, there is that's definitely here,
Yeah.
but there's I think to just say that that's what the South is would be doing the South a disservice. And I think truly bringing the South into the 21st century as a portrayal in the media is needed, I think.
Yeah, I agree. That's awesome. Who's your favorite comedian?
Bill Murray that was like my
Bill
gut
Murray.
reaction. I mean, I have him on my
He's a
wall
Charleston
back
guy. He's a
there,
Charleston guy.
but
Like Ghostbusters. Nice.
but I mean, I love a lot of comedy, but I sort of grew up and obsessed over the sort of 80s comedy, 80s comedy legends, the Bill Murrays, the Dan Aykroyds, the Chevy Chases. Harold Ramis was a big influence for me as a behind the camera. I studied a lot of his behind the camera stuff as well as obviously his in front of the camera stuff.
Did you ever did you ever dabble in stand-up comedy?
I tried stand up one time and
Only
it was
one time, really?
terrifying. It was in
Really?
high school and I was like, I could do this. How hard can it be? I just got to come up with some funny stuff to say and get in front of people. And I did this open mic night at the comedy club in Birmingham. And it was so terrifying. Like I got up there and got it up to the microphone and I started talking to the microphone and I could, hear my voice coming out of the speakers. And it's like hearing your voice in like video or on your answering machine or whatever. It's like, that's not what I sound like. And as soon as I heard myself, I was like, oh no, that's what I sound like. And it just was like, huh. I mean, I got through it and people laughed, I guess, but that was the one and only time.
Yeah,
I have so much
yeah.
respect for people who do stand up.
Yeah, in the entrepreneur world, they talk about stand-up comedy a lot because it's like one is facing your fears, and then two, it's like failing and having to like fight through it and keep going with it and like working on it like time and time. And Joe Rogan, you ever listen to like the Joe Rogan podcast? That's really popular.
I don't listen to it, but I've heard.
It's I mean, it's the number one podcast. Yeah. I love Joe Rogan, but one thing he always talks about with stand-up comedy is how like people don't understand how much like work goes into like a bit, and then like you test it out, and you don't want it to get like recorded until you like are finally ready. Yeah. So like that's what their nights are like. They testing out bits, and it's like comes together, and it's people think it's like it's riffing, messing around, but it's actually like really thought out, tested out, practiced.
Yeah, crafted
and then once it's all crafted and rehearsed, you can't go up there and sound crafted and rehearsed. No. So it's like it's an art. It's like an art that he truly I like the way he portrays it.
It's very much a performance art, and it like I have so much respect for stand-up comedians. I watched a documentary. I think it was called The Comedians, and it was that to me was eye-opening because you get to watch Jerry Seinfeld fail a little bit. Like it's when he's testing out some material, so he goes up in front of some people at a club and he's trying jokes and it's not working. Yeah. I was like, it does happen to everybody.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, and the same is true for us, in sketch comedy, and we turn it around fast. But we're always kind of workshopping it and and even on set, like we'll take a look at a bit and we'll be like, this would be funny if we did this, or what if we tried saying this instead of this? And it's always just, unlike stand-up comedy where you have to do it all in one take.
Right.
We can.
Right. You mean like when you're filming?
But yeah, that's the nice thing about what we do is that we're not doing it live.
Right,
we don't have to do it like all in one.
That's true.
But, we can if we mess up, we can go back and do it again.
Right. That's cool. And like usually, like if you ever go back for like a second day of filming, do you guys always like get it like in that day?
Oh yeah. Well, sometimes we break it up just for time reasons.
Okay.
Like the one we put up last week that has the in the heads of the control room.
Yeah.
We shot the Kevin and Diana stuff on one day, and then we shot the control room stuff the next day. And the day before we shot the Kevin and Diana stuff, Luke and I were in the room setting up all the computers with the screens and stuff and making sure the lighting was right. Fortunately, I was able to write that one the week before, so we had a little bit more time to prep that one.
Okay.
But
Cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That's
and Luke is a we don't talk enough about Luke. Luke is a master prop maker. He's also like he's a really funny guy behind the scenes. He has a lot of really good ideas for jokes and for bits. And like Luke is one of those unsung heroes behind the camera as well as like every time he's in front of the camera, he's hilarious. But like the guy can make anything. Like we did sometimes we're like, what? There's no way he's going to come up with something for this. But then he'll surprise us. We did the video. It was like a fake commercial for AMC Prime or something, AMC
I
at
saw
home
that
or
one.
something like that.
Yeah.
When the movie theaters were in trouble, which I guess they still are. But and one of the props that he made was like the AMC Seat Kicker, which is this device that you put behind your couch and it
Yeah.
has little feet and it
I
like
remember
kicks
that.
your seat.
I remember that.
He made
Yeah.
that. And he
Like
salutes
I
him and
remember,
they
I
pull on
remember
strings.
I remember that's actually one of the things I remember thinking about that. It was like literally like the dumbest like little prop that like because the concept was, yeah, just put it behind you. It'll be the authentic experience at the movie theater. Someone will kick you in the back. Like what? Obviously, no one wants that. And it was like this little feet kicker thing. I remember laughing at that. Like, did they make that? Did they buy that? I remember thinking about that.
Yeah, Luke made it. He makes all the things. So if ever you see something that looks kind of crazy and weird, Luke probably made it. Like one of the when we did earlier, it was like a drug commercial for this bubble that you put yourself in to protect yourself from pollen. And Luke made this big bubble that Talia had to walk around the botanical gardens in. And yeah, Luke is he's awesome.
Yeah, like you guys have a small team,
Yeah,
like compared to
very
SNL,
small.
I'm sure, right? Like,
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 people.
so that means you have to do a lot of different jobs.
Yeah, a lot of
And
hats.
right, and it comes out with a great production. Like that's cool. I mean, like when you started, you went to film school. Like, do you think that's something that still provides value today, or did that provide value to you when you did that?
I think it does provide value, and I think
I learned nothing from college. I got a marketing degree. I run a business. I market all the time, and I learned nothing. It was worth the experience because I met my now wife. I met a lot of friends. I learned how to do my laundry. But the actual curriculum didn't help me at all.
Yeah, well, my undergraduate degree was in psychology, so I don't know.
Well, you're a comedian, so like maybe that connects a little bit.
But I think in terms of film school, there's this whole like, do I need to go to film school?
Yeah.
What do I need film school for? If you're looking to go to film school to try to get a job in the film industry, I think that's the wrong approach because
Okay.
that it's still such a hard thing to sort of break into. And now, what is the film industry? It's like, you have a platform at your fingertips that you can
Yeah.
start posting content to today.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure some of the biggest YouTubers get way more views than maybe even SNL. Like
Yeah,
Mr.
for
Beast
sure.
on YouTube. He's got like the biggest YouTube channel. Like it's just an iPhone and like it's a little production. Like, so yeah, anyone can do
Exactly.
it.
And
But
so,
there's gotta be skills that were worth it
yeah,
to
definitely.
learn.
I think, part of, you could say that like now it's so accessible. Anybody can just pick up, an iPhone, and iPhones have amazing cameras now,
Uh-huh.
and, get a good microphone, a little clip on, something that you can get good sound with, and you're off and running. But
Uh-huh.
I think there's power in sort of the visual language that I think film school helps to sort of to teach you and to get you to experiment with. And there are other ways to, you can learn by watching and studying. If you're a big fan of like Stanley Kubrick's movies, you can watch his movies over and over again and sort of figure out why he's doing things. But for me, it was a nice sort of organized structural method of practicing and learning the visual language and like how to tell stories using pictures, basically, which I think helps in sort of
Yeah.
our diversity of what we're able to do on, in the format of sketch
Yeah.
comedy.
And like that's a
because we
skill. Is it a skill that you can continue to use even as the technology advances to a phone,
absolutely,
iPhone? That's valuable then.
yeah, I think that whatever you're using, you can use an iPhone, you can use a Arri Alexa, but if you understand sort of the power and communication of, I'm simplifying, but saying like, a long shot versus a medium shot versus a, why do you do a close up? Why do you move the camera this way or this way? Or, um, you know, this is a format that we want to try to emulate. What do they do? What are the techniques that they use, and how does the visual language of a commercial parody work versus a movie trailer versus that sort of thing.
And the average person probably can't pick that out, but something subconscious, they notice the production value,
Right.
for sure, right?
Right. And I think that, learning that stuff, it just expands your toolkit for what you can do, because a lot of online creators, and we joke about this sometimes, but you can say, well, it doesn't matter if it looks like crap, people will share it. And sometimes that's true. Like, you see a lot of videos on Facebook in particular that, like, not a lot of effort put into production value, but it's funny or whatever, and it works. But there's a place for that. But there's also, like, there's also a place for sort of thought out, designed.
I appreciate production. I appreciate good production value. And I mean, maybe that person that went viral, it's not sustainable if it was just like the little thing on their phone or something that went viral,
And if you say you want to do a horror film movie trailer, then sort of the language, right? You could say, like, all right, well, this is a horror film trailer. I understand how to break that down and how to sort of craft the moments and that sort of stuff. So there, when I was a teacher or a professor at University of Alabama, like, it was sort of this thing where we were like, people were like, what do I need film school for? It was like, well, it's for this. It's for, like, expanding your cinematic toolkit to say,
Right.
like, all right, I understand not only what this is, but why I'm doing this and why this helps tell the story, and it just ups your production value.
Yeah. Do you find yourself nerding out if you watch, like, a commercial or a movie, like, kind of like if you're a basketball coach, you're watching a basketball game, you're like, they're in this defense, they're in this offense. Like, when you're watching movies, are you like, they're using this shot, or do you just
Sometimes,
like enjoy it?
Most of the time, I try to enjoy it. I'm one of those people that, like, I just tries to immerse myself. Like, I can't do other things when I watch TV or movies.
Okay.
Like, I have to, like, I want to watch it because I want to, like, experience, like, every frame of it. Like, my wife is completely different. Like, she can watch TV and be cross stitching or, like, something else, and she's just sort of absorbing it. But I have to, like, I have to see it and I have to hear it. And I want to hear every moment. I want to see every moment. Because, as somebody who, like, makes stuff, like, that's what I would want people to do when they watch my stuff.
Right.
Because, like, what you might miss, like a reaction shot where that, like, tells you something about what a character's thinking, or you might miss a specific audio cue or something like that. That's, like, really important.
Yeah, I'm so guilty of that. Like, I do a lot of like watching, like, TVs and movies as I'm, like, at my warehouse, like, printing shirts or, like, shipping, so it's, like, kind of next to me, and I'm listening, but I miss, and then sometimes I'll go back and watch it if it's, like, something popular. I'm like, oh my god, I missed that, and I see what you mean there, because I miss a lot.
My
of
wife
stuff.
hates that I have to, like, I'm just like a one task person when it comes to watching things. Like, we'll be watching a TV show and I'm just like, we can't. What are you doing? Why are you can't be cross stitching. You gotta be watching it. You're gonna miss, like, the shot.
Yeah. Whew. So for a young production person or anyone on this level that's looking to make content, you mentioned know your audience. You mentioned go to film school to learn the techniques, not necessarily to get connected with people. And
Well, it
like,
helps in that too, but
like, I'm sure, yeah. But you said don't, like, go just for that like reason.
yeah.
And I mean, a lot of people are starting, like, YouTube channels and stuff today. And as someone who's had success, like, are those kind of your main lessons you would give them? Know your audience, learn the craft a little bit. Like, anything else that pops to your head?
No, I mean, know your audience, learn the craft to the extent that you can. I wouldn't say it's necessarily you have to go to film school, but whatever you're doing, even if it's, like, how-to videos or something like that, like, make it as slick as you can. So, make sure everything's in focus, make sure it's lit well, make sure it's framed well, and for the love of God, make sure it has good sound. Like, good sound, like, I put above all of like, the video can look like it was shot on, like, a VGA phone if that's all you have. but if the sound is good, people are gonna be
Dude.
like, this is good.
Yeah,
Like nothing, there's nothing worse than having like garbage audio.
I agree. I'm around like episode 80 of my podcast, and I started it like at my house, and I have like a guy that helps me with production now, my man Brandon, who's listening right now.
Hey Brandon.
Um, he said hey from the other room. And when I first started, I just had like a little microphone, and I was like talking, and I would listen back to it. I'm like, oh my god, this sounds terrible, and it drove me crazy.
See,
And
that's
I was
step
like,
one is
yeah.
knowing that the sound. So a lot of people don't know. They'll hear it and they'll be like, that sounds pretty good. But you hear what good sound sounds like, and you're like,
Right, that's what you have to do. At first, I honestly, probably the first couple I might not have noticed, but then if I was, like, literally listening to myself on YouTube, and then the next video would come on, and I was like, "Oh my god," like, that sounded terrible, and it was just like, "Oh my," I was, like, panicking. I was like, "That sounds so bad. I need to do something about that," because I would never listen to that. So, yeah, it's a learning process too,
for sure. Yeah.
um,
Have good sound. That's like, if you're going to take anything away from this, have good sound. But
that's
also,
good.
if you're starting a YouTube channel, um, there, I think I started by saying like, know your audience. And like, if you're doing it just for you, that's not like the best way, but like, do it for you. Like, I'm going to contradict
Wait, wait,
myself,
wait,
but
wait,
like,
what?
the reason I say do it for you is, don't get into something that you're not making if you wouldn't watch what you're making, or like if like there's stuff that I've done that I have just loved doing, even if I was the only person that ever saw it. So um and the reason I say you have to have that sort of level of passion about what you're doing is because burnout is real. And in an age where, the YouTube age where it's all about consistency, and YouTube's like, you got to post 3 videos a week, and things like that, to stay fresh and to stay relevant, to just churn out content. Like if you're not like, if you're in it for the subscribers and you're in it
Yeah.
for all of that, then you're going to burn out so hard, because you're probably not going to get it as fast as you
Right.
wish
Like
you were.
you put the effort in, you get 10 views and you're crushed. Like the lesson you're kind
Yeah.
of saying is like, you had fun, right? You're like, you got to keep going. Like, don't get crushed. Like, if it
Yeah.
just got 10 views, keep going.
Yeah, be proud of the thing that you made, and be able to say like, I like this video, whether or not like it got 10 views or it got 10 million views. Because more often than not, when you're first starting, you're going to get 10 views, hopefully.
Of course.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so, if you're able to just love the thing that you're doing, and your audience, you know who you're speaking to, and you're able to sort of target those people, they will come if you build it. And you may have to build it over the course of a couple of years or
Couple
whatever.
years, yeah.
But
And there's value in consistency,
yes,
right? I think
very much
that's
so.
something to completely understand. There's value in consistency. People will respect the fact that they see you doing it over and over. And I've had to tell myself this. I like to say, well, the reason I want to be consistent and keep doing things is because when I do hit it big, there'll be so much fun stuff to go look back on.
Yeah.
That's how I justify it.
Yeah, well, it's good. I mean, like, consistency also gives people, they know when to expect the next thing. Like they
Right.
say like, all right, I like this. When's the next one coming up? And, a
Right.
lot of the YouTube sort of creator academy stuff is like, make sure to advertise like what your schedule is. Like,
Right. Do you guys do
say,
that?
we don't really advertise it. We do have like, playlists on YouTube that says like, our sketch comedy every Tuesday at 4 p.m.
Okay. I didn't even know that. I'm subscribed, and I didn't know it
It's
was
just,
Tuesday at 4 p.m.
it's
But I know
kind
it's
of
every week.
subliminal.
Yeah, subliminal. Yeah, I know. Like if there was like 2 months that passed and you didn't have a new video, I'd probably notice. I'd be like, wait,
Yeah.
where's there not? Where's this going? But
And there's a lot of emphasis over on quantity, but I would say quality is, I would strive for quality more than quantity. Like if you have good videos, I think that's going to help you out more in the long run than just like churning out.
yeah, I mean, obviously, in the best case scenario, you have both.
Yeah, both. And sustainability is something you're going to want to think about early on. Like, I say, yeah, we're going to do, a short film a week. And then turns out it takes 3 weeks to make one short film. And it's like, there's no way we're going to be able to do this. And I'm going to burn out so fast.
Right.
So like whatever is within your means, that you can say like, I can do this with the resources that I have, and I can do it consistently, once a week or even once every 2 weeks or whatever. It's just, you have a schedule, um, and you're just able to grind it out. And
Yeah.
again, if you have, you know, an audience in mind, there's somebody for everything. There's somebody for every sort of level of interest, or you know thing to get into. There's a community there, and community was one of our biggest like buzzwords around the office when we were starting. It's this other thing. It was like, we want to be more than, we don't want to just like be this thing that people want. We want to have like we want to develop a community around this, like, people who share this interest, and provide them a place where they can engage with content that satiates their interest, but also like talk to other people who share that interest and find, that sort of common
Make friends
ground.
make friends in the comments type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's,
There's tons of value there. There's tons of value there.
yeah. And it's, if you can cultivate that community around your thing, whether it's how-to videos or sketch comedy or whatever it is, then that's an easy way to get eyeballs and to find growth.
Love it. Love it. Adam Schwartz, any final parting words? You want to pitch yourself? You want to pitch the It's a Southern Thing?
Watch It's a Southern Thing. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, basically all of the platforms. Just all you got to do is search for It's a Southern Thing. You can also find us at our website, southernthing.com, which is just where you can go if you want to find all the It's a Southern Thing stuff in one place. But yeah, that's It's a Southern Thing. I'm wearing my, we do other things. I'm going to plug my online book club. I don't know if you've heard of this. We have
I never heard about it, but I actually just saw it like when I was Googling you before this to see some stuff.
It's called Literarily Wasted. It's amazing. Speaking of community, like we decided we were going to start this online sci-fi fantasy book club. Is my wife's idea, because she loves sci-fi and fantasy, and she didn't have anybody to talk to about it because there aren't like book clubs for that really. And we're like, but we don't want to like leave our house. So what can we do? So we started this a couple it was about, almost like a year and a half ago. We started Literarily Wasted. It's an online science fiction and fantasy book club. You can come nerd out with us. We have a great community of book lovers from all like ranges. Like I never read before this book club, and now I'm a reader. So it's me and my wife and Talia from It's a Southern Thing, and Talia's husband Lucas, and we just nerd out. We have book club discussions twice a week live, so you can come in and discuss the book of the month with us, and you get to choose the books, and it's super fun. We have a big, amazing community.
I love it. Literarily Wasted.
Literarily Wasted.
Literarily Wasted. It's a Southern Thing. Adam Schwartz, you're a talented guy. I love talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
This was fun.
This was fun. Isn't talking fun?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful podcast. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Oh my God. I just got the worst news ever. Turns out, if you don't subscribe to the podcast, I will die. So please subscribe. Please. My life depends on it.